Adenoff, and I'm here today to talk about some of the work we do in visual art class at Via Fundamental Intermediate School. As a practicing artist, I recognize that one of the most important aspects about being an artist is making choices. We start with a clear goal in mind, and from there we make a succession of informed choices which form the process of creative expression. As an art educator, I design lessons with the full range of learners in mind. I keep student choice at the forefront by using an educational framework called UDL, which stands for Universal Design for Learning. With UDL, I challenge all of my students to meet a goal that is clear. And I offer a selection of options for meeting that goal. Today, I'm going to show you a lesson I recently taught. And when you see the examples of different ways of meeting that same goal by my students, and that all students can engage deeply in higher level thinking and creative expression when they have access to high quality art education. In arts classrooms across the district, whether in person or virtual, Santa Ana students are developing their creativity and resilience and becoming purposeful and motivated, resourceful and knowledgeable, strategic, and goal-oriented.
Surreal medical illustration. Adapted for middle school from Marisela Peña's high school module. The essential question: how do artists use the postmodern principle of juxtaposition to get viewers to think twice about what they are seeing in their works of art? Artist career: medical illustrator. A medical illustrator is an art professional who's educated in medicine, science, art, design, and visual technology. Vocabulary: juxtaposition, the placement of two or more things close together in order to bring out their differences. Incongruous, something that is strange and not suitable in a particular situation. Remember the song from Sesame Street? One of these things is not like the other. Surreal. If you describe something as surreal, you mean that the elements in it are combined in a strange way that you would not normally expect, like in a dream. Surrealism, a 20th century art movement. It's artists and writers who used fantastic images and incongruous juxtapositions to show their unconscious thoughts and dreams. California Arts Standard. Apply methods to overcome creative blocks. Postmodern art principle. Juxtaposition. Images and objects from various realms and sensibilities come together as intentional clashes or random happenings. Surrealist and fantasy artists. Each of my students researched surrealism, and they also focused in on an artist that they found interesting. And they completed the Surrealism Research Guide to learn more. They also completed the Dream Brainstorm Organizer to tap into their unconscious thoughts and then use them in their works of art. Here are some medical illustrations, anatomy illustrations, and great picture references that my students used for their works of art. And students made sketches to try out different ideas. They used their reference pictures and began sketching and then combined them with subconscious thoughts from their dream brainstorm. So then they got to move on to create their surreal medical illustrations. And they were invited to select from 5 different options. They could choose drawing, collage, painting, digital imagery, or mixed media, which is anything you can get your hands on. And here are some examples, and you can see how there are so many different ways to reach the same goal. And each way brings out the personal voice, the artistic voice of each student. So you can see that there are all types of students in my classes, and they each have very individual ways of expressing themselves. We'll have a chance in a moment to hear from some of those students and see what this process was like for them.
Today I'm going to be doing the rubric for the Surreal medical. I started off by choosing the body part, which I chose the lips, and after that I searched up some lip drawings, and I found a lip drawing with the mouth open. So I decided to sketch that one out because I had got an idea of a little man just going into the mouth, like as the dentist checking the mouth. So, and then I searched up a guy on a ladder drawing, and I ended up drawing that. And after I was done with that, I ended up shading it a bit right here with my thumb. I scribbled and then I rubbed on the yeah. And then after that, I added a little jawline and added a bit of more details like this right here. And yeah, that was pretty much it.
So this is your surreal medical illustration. And can you tell me a little bit about it? Why did you choose to use the heart?
Well, I feel like the heart's more like a meaning of love, and I just prefer to do the heart than anything else because it was just like more meaning of love.
So, would you say that maybe you're expressing your love that you have for each other, you and your sister?
Yeah.
And then also maybe your cousin, since you guys do work together too.
Yeah.
That's pretty wonderful. I love that. Um, have you ever done anything like this before?
No.
And how do you feel, or what do you feel was the best part about this? What was your favorite part?
Um. Well, my favorite part was drawing my sister and like knowing that I was able to put my sister in a drawing and that it's just more than a drawing and there's a meaning behind the drawing.
Yeah. So having art that's meaningful is important for you.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
And what would you say was the most challenging part? What was most
Mm.
challenging for you, or most
In the in the drawing, like drawing something or
in the whole process for the surreal medical illustration? So we had research. You had to do a dream brainstorm. You had to make the artwork. You had to do a rubric and assess yourself and reflect on the work that you created.
I think the hardest part was well, it wasn't really hard, but it was more difficult than the others was the paragraphs.
Oh, are you talking about writing the paragraphs about what art is or the definition of art?
That's what is that? It was that. It was that. I thought it was the one where. Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah, because you have to kind of step back and look at it in a way.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the way your surreal medical illustration came out?
I think it came out really cool. At first, I was like, I don't know, but once I actually saw it, I really liked how it came out. I think it came out pretty.
Wow, you did that all with pencil. Extraordinary.
Yeah, colored pencils then.
And the background is how did you do it so beautifully? Wow.
Thanks.
Did you do it on
Well,
blend?
because if you look closely into the lungs,
Yes.
there's like a sunset type, and I didn't want to use this. I didn't want to leave the background on white because I don't think it would look good. So I was like, maybe I could use that part and just do a sunset in the back.
Beautiful. Is there in the lung on the right? Is there something happening in that lung that's different?
This one?
Tree? Is that a big tree?
Yeah, it's 3 trees, one in the front and 2 on the sides, and like grass and bush.
Very cool. Have you ever drawn anything like this before?
What happened? I couldn't hear you. Sorry.
That's okay. I heard a truck or something. Have you ever done a drawing like this before?
No, I never really put 2 things together unusual. I always did a simple, like regular type stuff. I'll leave one thing, but I never really have done this.
So do you
This is
remember
my first time.
that word that we talked about, juxtaposition, where you put those 2 things together
Yeah.
that you don't usually see together? Did that help to unleash some creativity for you?
Yeah, it actually really did help me. At first, I was kind of like, because normally I don't really do this type. I normally do like simple type. I never put 2 unusual things together. So it did really help me.
Took you to a new place, maybe. Um,
Yeah.
what would you say is your favorite part of this whole process with the surreal medical illustration?
When I was drawing it,
Okay, yeah. Could be when you're drawing it or doing the research. for it?
Oh, I actually really liked the research. It was very unusual. Like certain things I never really seen.
So you,
Like how I said, I always been like more simple. So it was a new thing. A
nice.
new
So what would you say was most challenging for you in the whole process?
um I think it would be the lungs because you know how it's unusual, it's like a tree. I never really draw trees and I don't think I was really that good at trees. So it was a little harder on the side for me, but I think it came out really good.
Nice. So you tried some more new things there too. Can
Yeah.
you tilt your screen a little bit so I can see your whole face? There we go. All right. I wanted to ask you, is this the first time you have art class in school?
Yeah, this is the first time, but I always did art. Like I really liked always like drawing and everything. But yeah, this is the first time I ever did an actual art
The
class.
first class, like classroom setting for art. So, did you know that in California, it is the right for every student to have an art education?
Really?
It is.
I didn't know that.
It's a right. So, um, do you think, um, do you agree with that, that every student should have a right to have art education?
Yeah, I think so. They shouldn't be like put on the side. They shouldn't like. I think everybody should do it. Well,
Everybody should have that
maybe that's what I'm
opportunity.
thinking it. Yeah.
All right. How do you feel having an art class has helped you in general?
In art class, I think it did help me because I would just draw. But ever since I did this art class, you know how you said there's emotions, the colors.
Yeah.
I never looked at that type stuff. You know how there's drawings in museums and you just see like different colors? In
Yeah.
reality, it actually means something. I used to just see colors, but now I actually mean the meaning behind it.
So
So it did help.
you look at it to see what the emotional impact might be or how
Yeah.
color might be used to represent emotion. Very cool. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me today. So, hi, Genesis.
Hi.
Thanks for showing me your surreal medical illustration.
Oh,
And
no problem.
can you tell me about it, please? And
Okay, the name of this artwork is called Las Manos Entrelazadas de Amor. In English, it's pronounced Hands Entwined with Love.
beautiful.
And all these hands are my family's, and we all share their personalities. So as the hearts, like our emotions. And all these hands, you see weird, like weird things coming out of your hands. You can see a cobra coming out. You can see flowers. You can see trees coming out. You can see a heart.
Can we see the picture again? There's all sorts of interesting things I noticed coming out of those hands. Oh, wow. And I notice also that the hearts are each, they seem like they're each a different color.
Yes,
Can you
they
tell
are
me about
different
that?
colors. Yes, all those hearts are emotions. Like, for example, the blue heart is sadness,
Oh,
and the red heart it's a lot of love from our family, and the pink heart it's a lot of like shyness sometimes, and the green heart it's disgust sometimes,
disgust.
and the orange one it's kind of like disgust just in a different color.
Uh, the different colors of disgust. I love
Yeah.
that.
It doesn't always have to be green. It can always be a different color.
So depending on maybe the exact if it's a yellow green or a blue green, or if it has maybe some white mixed in or black mixed in, it changes the mood a bit.
Yeah.
That's
It could,
really
yeah.
interesting. Is this a new way to think about color in terms of connecting it with emotion?
Yeah. Like I always want color to be with emotions. Not always faces. Not always the emotions can be through faces. It can always be by art. Your emotions by art, showing how mad you feel, showing how sad you feel, just expressing it in your artwork.
Very cool. Can I ask you what were your favorite parts about creating this work of art?
My favorite parts of creating this work is working with my family and just laughing while we were doing it and having fun with it and actually just like, well, telling stories and everything. And we were just goofing around and everything. And my dad was very putting his detail into his hand. So as me and my mom and my brother, which he's so obsessed with the cobras. That's why he wanted to put a cobra in his hand. And all these hands have stories.
They
Yeah.
have stories too.
Yes. And
So
that's the good part.
are they stories that you've kind of come up with in connection with the hand?
Yeah. So like I see my artwork and I'm like, these hands have stories. Not only do I just draw them, but they have stories behind them.
Wow, interesting. I like your thinking. Do you tend to think in kind of stories when you're thinking? Do stories come to mind?
Yeah, a lot of stories come up to my mind, and when I see those decorations I put there, I'm like, this piece has a story. And that's when my imagination starts like, okay, you see all this, and it starts going in my head and seeing all the like many pictures in my head, imagination, words coming up to my head and saying like stories. That's what all comes to mind for me.
It's so interesting. What would you say was the most challenging part of creating this artwork?
What was the most challenging part? It was our decorations. Like the decorations for me, I'm like, I wanna put more to this. I don't wanna leave it all just like this. I wanna put details and the name. It was challenging for me, the name and how we came up with it.
Do you feel that taking the risks to challenge yourself with the title, with completing and resolving your piece, were they worth it?
Was it worth to doing this all?
Yeah, to doing the challenging work.
Yeah, I always try to push myself to the challenging part.
Thank you so
But
much.
would you like to see what's the story behind all these hands?
I would.
So you see this weird hand right here? The weird hand with trees going out of it?
Yeah.
Well, those hands, before all these trees were it's a normal hand. But then trees started growing out of your veins. And flowers growing out of it. Your nails are getting purple. You got a colorful hand. You got many things growing out of your hand. And the name I came up with, it's called Fantasy Hand. I got it from my brainstorm.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, this hand looks like a fantasy hand. Why not a fantasy hand? So I did it as a fantasy hand. And that's the fantasy hand.
Oh yeah.
The trees grow out of it. And you see another hand where there's a heart. That's my mom's hand. She drew it by herself. And my mom's like, why not your heart in the chest? Why not the heart in your hand?
Mm-hmm.
So this heart is pumping blood to the fingers. You know how the heart pumps the blood to your body?
Oh yeah.
So instead, why not the heart in your hand? And get all those veins and the heart is just pumping blood to your hand. And then we have a snake. That's a cobra. So before this hand had a cobra, it was a normal hand. Okay? Not even a cobra growing out of it. But next thing you know, one day, all of a sudden, you hear hissing from your hand, growing out of your veins again. Here comes a cobra. This is a really mean cobra. This cobra is hissing everywhere.
Oh my.
And nobody even wants to touch the hand because the cobra is too violent. Don't even go near it.
Uh,
Very. So that's how the cobra hand looks like.
oh yeah.
Then we have a hand, which is all gray. And this hand has a flower.
Oh yeah.
A little flower growing out of your veins. Not from here. But not from here. It's a rose, actually. And the rose just grew out of it. Just grew out of your hand.
Ooh.
And starts growing out vines, starts growing out leaves. And just blooms in your hand. And starts growing out stars. And your hand got all gray. But the flower is still blooming. Nothing can kill it. It's just a rose. Just a rose that blooms while your hand is all gray.
Eternally beautiful. Forever. Mm-hmm.
So that's all of our hands.
That is quite a composition. And the title really, say the title again. The title is really beautiful.
Las manos entrelazadas de amor.
How beautiful.
Which also in English we pronounce it hands entwined with love. Because all our hands are made from love.
Wow. That gives me chills. Beautiful. All right. Thank you for joining me today for my segment in Boca de Oro. And I hope you're able to see how students across the spectrum are able to meet the same goal when they're offered the opportunity to choose which way they're going to meet that goal. And to end this segment, I'd like to read you some words from one of my students. His name is Angel. What is Art? By Angel J. I think the definition of art is to be free of stress and to be able to do whatever you want. Many people think that art is not important, but art is just as important as any other subject because for some people it helps them express themselves, or sometimes art helps them with anger issues. Art is a way to express yourself or to help others express themselves. There are many definitions of art because art is everywhere. When someone plays a game, it took art to make that. Or when they watch movies or a show, it took art to make that. But not all art is bright and happy. Some of it is dark and sad or furious, because that is the way someone made something. Since it is the way they are feeling that made them make that type of art. Or maybe that's just the way they want their creation to look. There are many different definitions of art for people, which makes art different and unique. Art is helpful for people by being able to do anything. Art is in history, even when cavemen were alive. Making art is something that anyone can do. The definition of art is being able to make the impossible possible with imagination. Angel J.